FBI showed up this morning on boats at around 10:30 in the morning, a team searching his island, even though accused trafficker Jeffrey Epstein is dead.
On August 12, 2019, just 2 days after Epstein's mysterious death, FBI agents descended upon Little St. James Island. Their mission was clear: to uncover the truth behind Epstein's alleged trafficking network. Equipped with cutting-edge technology, the agents embarked on a meticulous search of the sprawling estate. What they found was a treasure trove of digital evidence and disturbing artworks that hinted at the depth of Epstein's perversions. The FBI raid, unveiling the darkness. The raid on Little St. James was the culmination of meticulous planning. Armed with search warrants, the FBI agents knew the task ahead was daunting. The island, a sprawling 70-acre enclave, was Epstein's fortress of solitude, where he entertained the elite away from prying eyes. The agents arrived by boat, a tactical decision that underscored the island's isolation and the challenge of securing evidence that could withstand the scrutiny of legal proceedings. As the sun rose, casting long shadows over the manicured lawns and opulent structures, the agents began their search. They split into teams, each assigned specific areas of the estate, from the main residence adorned with its infamous dome, now missing, to the peculiar blue-striped temple, whose purpose had been the subject of much speculation. The search of Epstein's estate was exhaustive. Agents entered every room, opened every drawer, and scanned every computer. They were searching not just for physical evidence of crimes, but for any digital footprint that Epstein had left behind. The estate, with its luxurious amenities and secluded cabins, was designed to cater to Epstein's every whim, but now it offered clues to the darker aspects of his life. One of the most significant finds was the computers. These machines, which once commanded views of stunning landscapes, were potential gold mines of information. Agents carefully collected these devices, aware that they could contain emails, browsing histories, and files that would piece together the extent of Epstein's global network. As the FBI delved deeper into Epstein's sanctum, they uncovered an array of disturbing items. Photographs and artworks depicting young women in various states of undress adorned the walls, serving as a grotesque testament to Epstein's obsessions. Each piece of art, each carefully framed photograph, was not just a decoration, but a symbol of the exploitation that occurred within those walls. The raid also uncovered a cache of meticulously organized CDs and hard drives, labeled with names and dates. These were immediately seized, their contents unknown but potentially explosive. The agents knew that these could hold the key to understanding the full scope of Epstein's abuses and the network that enabled him. The raid on Little St. James was not just about collecting evidence. It was about piercing the veil of secrecy that Epstein had constructed around his life. Each item seized, each photograph documented, added to a growing body of evidence that would challenge the narrative Epstein had presented to the world. However, the raid also highlighted the immense challenges facing the investigation. The island was a crime scene of unparalleled complexity, with potential evidence hidden in the most unlikely of places. Moreover, the raid underscored the international scope of Epstein's activities, suggesting that the pursuit of justice would extend far beyond the shores of Little St. James. The art that shocked the FBI. When FBI agents raided Little St. James Island, they anticipated encountering evidence of Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. However, what they did not foresee was the extent to which art and decor would reflect the perverse underpinnings of Epstein's private world. The artworks and photographs discovered during the raid were not merely eccentric or lavish decorations, but were emblematic of Epstein's dark fascinations and his exploitation of the vulnerable. As the agents moved through the opulent rooms of Epstein's estate, they were confronted with a collection that would shock even the most seasoned investigators. The walls of the main residence were adorned with life-sized photographs and paintings, many of which depicted young women, some clearly underaged, in various states of undress or in provocative poses. These were not the discreet collections of a private connoisseur, but bold, unabashed displays of Epstein's obsessions. Among the most disturbing finds were custom pieces that seemed to glorify Epstein's actions and preferences. Artworks featuring nudes in suggestive poses were juxtaposed with classical pieces, creating a jarring contrast that underscored the island's dual nature, a place of apparent beauty hiding a sinister reality. One specific piece that caught the agent's attention was a bizarre painting of Epstein himself, surrounded by young women, a chilling homage to his ego and crimes. Beyond the explicit content, the art collection served another, more insidious purpose, signaling Epstein's power and influence. Among the items cataloged by the FBI were works that hinted at Epstein's connections to high-profile figures, including a now infamous painting of a former president in a blue dress and red red heels. Such pieces were not mere art. They were trophies of Epstein's ability to entangle others in his world, reminders of the complicity and silence that allowed his crimes to continue. The presence of these artworks also acted as a form of intimidation. For the young women who were brought to the island, the omnipresent images of female submission and Epstein's glorification created an environment of psychological control. They were constant reminders of Epstein's power and the futility of resistance, woven into the very fabric of the island's aesthetic. The art discovered on Little St. James Island served as a mirror to Epstein's soul, revealing a man who reveled in the objectification and control of young women. Each piece, whether a photograph, painting, or sculpture, was a component of Epstein's personal narrative, a narrative built on exploitation and abuse. The FBI's documentation of these artworks was meticulous, recognizing their importance not just as evidence, but as a testament to the perverse reality that Epstein had created. These pieces were cataloged with the same precision as digital devices and documents, treated as crucial links in the chain of evidence that would expose Epstein's network. The art that shocked the FBI became a focal point in the broader investigation into Epstein's activities. As news of the raid and its discovery spread, the public's fascination with these artworks grew. They became symbols of the depravity that had been hidden in plain sight, challenging society's perceptions of art, power, and morality. In the aftermath of the raid, questions about the fate of these artworks arose. Some argued that they should be destroyed, while others saw them as vital evidence of Epstein's crimes, artifacts that should be preserved to ensure that the full truth of his actions would never be forgotten. The digital evidence, unlocking secrets. The discovery of digital devices during the FBI raid on Little St. James Island represented a critical juncture in the investigation into Jeffrey Epstein's criminal network. Amidst the opulence and perversion, these computers and hard drives held the potential to reveal the mechanisms of Epstein's operations, providing tangible evidence that could corroborate the accounts of victims and possibly implicate co-conspirators. This section explores the pivotal role of digital evidence in peeling back the layers of secrecy that shielded Epstein's activities for so long. As FBI agents meticulously searched Epstein's estate, the retrieval of electronic devices became a priority. The seizure of at least 2 desktop computers, an Apple computer, and various storage media marked a significant moment in the investigation. These devices, once integral to the day-to-day functioning of Epstein's world, now promised to unlock the secrets of his dark empire. The agents, aware of the potential trove of information within these machines, handled them with the precision and care reserved for the most valuable of evidence. The forensic analysis of the seized digital evidence was a task of monumental importance and complexity. Digital forensics experts faced the challenge of extracting data from devices that could have been encrypted or intentionally damaged to prevent access. The process involved creating exact replicas of the drives, allowing investigators to sift through emails, documents, images, and browsing histories without altering the original evidence. One of the primary challenges in analyzing digital evidence lies in the sheer volume of data. Epstein's devices were likely to contain thousands of files, each requiring careful examination to determine its relevance to the investigation. The forensic team used specialized software to flag keywords, suspicious patterns, and connections to known individuals or locations associated with Epstein's trafficking network. The digital evidence uncovered patterns of communication and transactions that shed light on how Epstein managed his illicit activities. Email exchanges with associates provided insight into the logistics of transporting victims, coordinating meetings, and managing financial arrangements. Documents found on the computers, including schedules, contacts, and detailed notes, helped construct a timeline of Epstein's movements and interactions, crucial for corroborating victims' accounts. Perhaps most significantly, the digital evidence held the potential to reveal the identities of others involved in the network. Analysis of communication logs, financial records, and shared images could expose co-conspirators who had remained in the shadows, offering a clearer picture of the scope and scale of Epstein's operations. The digital evidence seized during the raid on Little St. James Island became a cornerstone of the ongoing investigation into Epstein's crimes. In the wake of Epstein's death, these devices offered a pathway to justice, providing the means to hold others accountable for their involvement in the trafficking network. For investigators, the contents of Epstein's computers and storage devices underscored the importance of digital evidence in modern criminal investigations. In a world where much of our lives are conducted online, the ability to uncover and interpret digital trails is crucial for unraveling complex criminal enterprises. Aftermath: a glimmer of hope for justice. In the wake of Jeffrey Epstein's death, a profound sense of injustice pervaded among his victims and the public. The abrupt end to his life meant that Epstein would never stand trial, never publicly face the allegations against him, and never be held accountable in a court of law for his extensive crimes. However, the continued efforts of law enforcement agencies, the legal pursuits by victims, and the public's demand for accountability have offered a glimmer of hope for justice in the aftermath of Epstein's demise. The Federal Bureau of Investigation and other law enforcement agencies did not conclude their work with Epstein's death. Instead, they intensified their efforts to dismantle the network he had built and to bring his co-conspirators to justice. The raid on Little St. James Island was a testament to their commitment, uncovering evidence crucial for ongoing investigations. These efforts signaled to the victims and the world that the quest for justice was far from over, and that the legal system was earnestly working to rectify the failings that had allowed Epstein's crimes to go unpunished for so long. For many of Epstein's victims, the fight for justice took the form of civil lawsuits against Epstein's estate and his associates. These legal actions sought not only financial compensation for the harm inflicted, but also a form of public acknowledgement and validation of their suffering. The courage of these individuals to come forward and demand accountability has been pivotal in keeping the public's attention focused on the case and on the broader issues of abuse and trafficking. The settlements, while not a substitute for criminal convictions, have provided some measure of solace and recognition of the victims' pain and suffering. Epstein's case has sparked a global conversation about power, privilege, and the protection of the vulnerable in society. The public's reaction to Epstein's death and the circumstances surrounding his criminal activities have led to calls for systemic reforms in how allegations of abuse and trafficking are handled, especially when influential individuals are involved. This outcry has put pressure on institutions, from the criminal justice system to financial and educational organizations, to examine and change policies and practices that enable abuse. The media and social advocacy groups have played crucial roles in the aftermath of Epstein's death, ensuring that the story remains in the public eye and that the voices of the victims are heard. Documentaries, investigative journalism, and social media campaigns have helped to unravel the complex web of Epstein's crimes, bringing to light the depth of his abuse and the failure of various systems to protect the victims. This sustained attention has fostered a more informed and engaged public discourse on issues of abuse, power dynamics, and justice. The legacy of Epstein's art and crimes. Epstein's legacy is a haunting juxtaposition of high art and heinous crime, embodying a stark duality that continues to challenge our collective understanding of morality, power, and the role of art in society. The artwork collected by Epstein, discovered during the FBI's raid on his properties, and the widespread crimes he committed, weave together a narrative that reflects not only the personal depravities of a single individual, but also the broader societal failures that allowed such depravities to flourish unchecked. The art collected by Jeffrey Epstein was not merely decorative. It served as a mirror to his psyche, revealing a complex interplay of vanity, manipulation, and a deep-seated predilection for exploiting the young and vulnerable. From paintings that glorified his distorted self-image to photographs that objectified his victims, each piece in Epstein's collection offers insight into the mind of a man who saw himself as above the moral and legal constraints of society. This artwork, much of it shocking to the FBI agents who cataloged it during their investigations, serves as a tangible reminder of Epstein's dual life. On one hand, he was a collector who moved in the highest circles of the art world, using his wealth to acquire pieces that reflected his tastes and interests. On the other hand, he was a predator, using that same wealth and the allure of the art world to attract and ensnare his victims. Epstein's involvement in the art world goes beyond his personal collection, touching on a darker aspect of his legacy: the way he leveraged his art connections to facilitate his criminal activities. His patronage and donations to art institutions served as a veneer of respectability, masking the nefarious undertakings that funded his lifestyle. This aspect of his crimes prompts a re-evaluation of the ethics surrounding art patronage and the responsibilities of institutions in vetting their benefactors. The scandal surrounding Epstein has cast a long shadow over the art world, forcing galleries, museums, and individual artists to confront uncomfortable questions about the provenance of donations and the implications of associating with figures who, like Epstein, use art as a tool for personal aggrandizement and moral camouflage. In the aftermath of Epstein's exposure and subsequent death, the art he collected has taken on new significance. It stands as a macabre archive of his interests and crimes, offering clues to understanding the depth of his manipulation and abuse. For the victims, These pieces are painful reminders of their experiences, yet they also play a crucial role in the ongoing quest for justice and reparation. The debate over what should become of Epstein's art collection reflects broader societal dilemmas about the fate of art created or owned by morally reprehensible figures. Some argue for the destruction of such art, while others advocate for its use as educational tools to warn against the dangers of unchecked power and influence. Conclusion: the quest for truth and accountability. The saga of Jeffrey Epstein is a disturbing testament to the ways in which wealth, power, and systemic inadequacies can shield egregious conduct from the light of justice. Epstein's life, filled with unspeakable crimes hidden beneath a veneer of opulence and respectability, and his untimely death, which left more questions than answers, underscore a pervasive challenge to our collective moral and ethical framework. The quest for truth and accountability, sparked by the revelations of Epstein's actions, is not merely a pursuit of justice for his victims, but a critical examination of the societal and systemic failures that allowed his abuses to continue unchecked. The Epstein case forces a re-evaluation of the structures of power and justice that enable individuals like Epstein to exploit vulnerabilities without fear of reprisal. It highlights the urgent need for systemic reforms that prioritize transparency, accountability, and the protection of the most vulnerable members of society. This re-evaluation must extend beyond the legal system to encompass financial, social, and political institutions that, wittingly or unwittingly, play a role in facilitating or concealing abuse. A crucial aspect of the quest for truth and accountability is the empowerment of victims. Epstein's victims, through their courage in coming forward, have shifted the narrative from one of scandal and sensationalism to one of resilience and the demand for justice. Their voices have catalyzed a broader movement that seeks to change how society responds to allegations of abuse, emphasizing belief and support for survivors over the protection of powerful perpetrators. The global response to Epstein's crimes and the ongoing investigations into his associates represent a collective assertion that no individual, regardless of their wealth or connections, is above the law. This message is a cornerstone of the quest for accountability, serving as both a deterrent to future abuses and a beacon of hope for those who have suffered in silence. Public discourse and media play pivotal roles in the quest for truth and accountability. The extensive coverage of the Epstein case, including investigative journalism, documentaries, and social media campaigns, has kept public attention focused on the need for justice and systemic change. This coverage has not only educated the public on the complexities of trafficking and abuse, but has also held institutions and individuals accountable for their roles in enabling or failing to stop Epstein's activities. As the quest for truth and accountability continues in the aftermath of Jeffrey Epstein's crimes, several key lessons emerge. First, the importance of vigilance in the face of power and influence cannot be overstated. Society must remain alert to the ways in which the powerful can manipulate systems to their advantage, often at the expense of the vulnerable. Second, the pursuit of justice requires a collective effort that transcends legal battles, involving societal recognition of and response to systemic injustices. Finally, the legacy of Epstein's crimes and the ongoing efforts to address them remind us of the resilience of the human spirit and the capacity for change. Call to action. In the wake of Jeffrey Epstein's crimes and the myriad questions surrounding his death, a clear and urgent call to action emerges. This is not just a moment for reflection, but a rallying cry for substantive change, a demand for a societal shift that ensures such abuses of power are never again allowed to persist in the shadows. The legacy of Epstein's actions, while dark, offers an opportunity for collective mobilization towards a future where justice, transparency, and protection for the vulnerable are paramount. Here are actionable steps we can take to contribute to this change. 1. Support survivors and victim advocacy groups. One of the most direct ways to make an impact is by supporting survivors of sexual abuse and the organizations that advocate on their behalf. This support can take many forms, from donations to volunteer work, to simply amplifying their voices. By standing with survivors, we not only provide them with the resources and platforms they need to heal and fight for justice, but also send a powerful message that they are not alone. 2. Demand accountability and transparency. We must hold our institutions, be they legal, financial, educational, or political, to the highest standards of accountability and transparency. This involves staying informed, asking tough questions, and demanding answers. It's crucial to vote for and support policymakers who commit to systemic reforms that address the loopholes and failures exploited by individuals like Epstein. 3. Educate ourselves and others. Ignorance is one of the biggest obstacles to change. By educating ourselves and others about the nature of abuse, trafficking, and exploitation, we can dismantle the myths and stigmas that often surround these issues. Education can empower us to recognize signs of abuse, understand the complexities of victimization, and advocate for policies that protect the vulnerable. 4. Promote a culture of consent and respect. Changing the narrative around power dynamics, consent, and respect starts at the individual level. By fostering environments, whether at home, school, or the workplace, that prioritize consent and respect for all individuals, we can contribute to a broader cultural shift. This also involves challenging derogatory or dismissive attitudes towards survivors and advocating for comprehensive education that underscores the importance of consent. 5. Engage in responsible consumption. The media we consume and the products we buy can have far-reaching implications. By choosing to support artists, companies, and media outlets that uphold ethical standards and contribute positively to society, we can use our economic power to influence change. Responsible consumption also means being critical of the glorification of wealth and power without scrutiny. 6. Amplify voices for change through social media. Social media offers a powerful platform for raising awareness and mobilizing for change. By sharing reputable information, engaging in meaningful discussions, and supporting campaigns aimed at reforming the system, we can help keep the momentum for change alive. Social media can amplify the voices of survivors, advocates, and reformers, creating a community united in the pursuit of justice. Conclusion. The call to action in the aftermath of Jeffrey Epstein's exposure is clear. It's a call for each of us to play a part in fostering a world where justice prevails, where the vulnerable are protected, and where abuses of power are met with unwavering resistance. Let's mobilize for change, not just in memory of those harmed by Epstein's actions, but for the future safety and dignity of all individuals. Together, we can turn the legacy of Epstein's crimes into a catalyst for lasting, positive transformation in society.